John David Mann is a world-acclaimed author. His titles include The Go-Giver, one of the most highly rated books within a series with sales guru Bob Burg, the New York Times bestsellers Among Heroes with Brandon Webb, and Real Leadership with John Addison. He also penned the New York Times bestseller The Answer for John Ashraf and Murray Smith. His body of work includes about 24 titles, many with national best-selling status. You can also find his writings on the Huffington Post. Through his writings, this man mentors people to think on mentorship. His new book, The Recipe, with Chef Charles Carroll, is due to release on October 17, 2017. Today we are talking with him about his life and work. Thank you, John David Mann, for taking the time to share in this marketing moment.
Blake, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Happy to be here in Indiana.
Awesome. To move listeners into our discussion, you are the co-author on many great works like The Go-Giver and The Secret Language of Money. Many professionals have opportunities to partner and make profit. What's the single biggest challenge in producing and launching a book?
You know, I think most people, Blake, think that when an author publishes a book, once they've written it, the publisher takes it from there. And whether you go with a traditional publisher like through New York or you're self-publishing, which more and more people do these days, it's either way, it's really incumbent on the author to promote the book. Publishers, by and large, really don't do that. So I think the number one challenge is it's really up to you to reach readers, to put the book out there, to make a connection with your audience and your marketplace.
Okay. So producing a book is not unlike producing many business projects. There is profit in the details. What's the new book about, The Recipe?
So this is different for me because, I've been writing books for over a decade. I've got 24 out. This is the first book I've really launched as a self-published venture. And so it's a whole new entrepreneurial angle for me. I've never been a publisher, and that's quite challenging. But you asked what the book is about. So this book, The Recipe, is a parable, like The Go-Giver. That is, it's a simple story designed to teach some key life principles. But the setting is of a young boy, 14-year-old boy, who's just lost his dad, and his life is, he's consumed with grief. He's angry at the world. He's angry at God. His life is kind of spiraling down the drain. And he crosses paths with this crusty old diner chef and has to go to work for him to pay him back for some vandalism he's committed. And he ends up learning lessons in the kitchen that really turn out to be lessons about life. It's kind of like Karate Kid meets the Master Chef. So that's the essence of the book right there.
That's great. Now, all books teach through story and lessons. Who should get into this story and why?
Say that question again?
I said, who should get into this story and why?
Oh, yes. It's funny because we really ask ourselves, who is the market? Who is the readership? Who wants this story? And obviously, it will appeal to people who love great food and great cooking, anybody who watches the Food Network, because there's a lot of cooking in the story. There are a lot of cooking tips and descriptions of food and recipes. It's also about personal growth, though. It's really for anybody who's been through a tragedy or through a difficult time in their life. We are not all 14-year-old boys. We haven't all lost our dads. But those are just details. Those are particulars. It's really for anyone who has been through or is going through a time of struggle in their lives. And it's kind of a guidebook on how to survive the storm.
Wow, it sounds really powerful. Now, in what you said, it sounds like that you were moved to produce this story from some personal experience or someone else's experience. How did you really get into writing about cooking?
That's a really interesting question. I wrote this book together with a chef. Charles Carroll is the executive chef of a very prestigious country club in Houston, Texas. He's got a staff of 75 people working under him, so it's a massive operation. He's an extraordinarily accomplished, really world-renowned chef. So in details, a lot of the story is kind of cobbled together from particulars that happened in Chef Charles's life. I mean, he didn't lose his dad at 14. This isn't a story about him, but there are a lot of little pieces of Chef Charles's life that we drew on to add color and detail to the story. But at the same time, I find this with every book I write. I've written books with business leaders, with men, women, young, old. I've written a bunch of books with a former Navy SEAL sniper who's become a good friend. Widely varied topics. But in each of them, there's some part of myself and my own experience that find its way into the book. I think you have to. I think if you're going to write a story that's authentic, that's genuine, that is going to move people, and why write any other kind, then you always draw a little bit on your own life and your own experiences. So yeah, I've always loved food, always loved cooking. My wife and I have the best time in the kitchen, and so there's a lot of Chef Charles Carroll in there. There's a bunch of me in there too.
Now, many people are really interested in how many works that you've produced, but how does a man come up with so many great ideas and so many super co-authors? Many people have opportunities to partner in life, but how do you really know who's the right person to get involved with? Are there some secrets that you might share with people about strategic alliances?
Wow. I will say this. I'll start out by saying that, a lot of us aren't writers, but in first of all, writing is a business. And I don't mean that to sound cold and callous. Writing is also a kind of expression. It's a passion. It's a following. It's a calling. But it's also, frankly, a business because it has to support my family, right? In any business, I think possibly the most important decision you'll ever make is the choice of business partners. Employees may come and go, team members may come and go, but real, genuine business partners, I think you cannot overestimate how important it is, the people you choose to go into business with. And all of my co-authors are basically business partners. So you're absolutely right. It's a great question. I do choose carefully. And I've had some heartaches. I've gotten involved in book projects that never quite made it to the end, and then I at one point had to call it quits, or they blew up in my face, just like, sometimes a marriage will blow up in your face, or a friendship, or a partnership. That's happened to me, and I've had to learn. And, you asked any tips or secrets. For me, I look for somebody whose values I share, that I can really connect with on the level of values. It doesn't matter if they're in a totally different experience than me, like a Navy SEAL sniper or a famous woman speaker or whatever. But we share similar values. And then the number two thing, practically speaking, I look for co-authors who have the capacity to get out there and reach a marketplace, to market their book, to reach a lot of people.
Interesting. Now, many people really look for strategic alliances and partners who will really last a long time. Are there strategies that you have found in building productive relationships that might be applied to other business avenues that you might give us some insight into to help people really learn how to better partner with others in the world, which is so important?
If you want to earn people's trust, you need to trust them. If you want to be people to work with you, you need to be easy to work with. So I think that's first. And I'm going to take just a half minute to add another point, if I may.
Yeah.
When we started with this project, as I said, we're self-publishing. And that's a new thing for us, both Chef Charles and me. The first question we had to ask ourselves was, after, are we really going to do this thing? The first question we had to ask was, who are we going to listen to? Because if you go to Amazon and look for books in self-publishing or how to promote or market your own books, there's like 1,000, 10,000 of them out there, and most of them don't know what they're talking about, or they know a little bit but not a lot. There's so many voices, and it's just true in any business. There's so many consultants, so many pieces of advice, so many people who will tell you what their experience is. The biggest decision in creating, and you asked about strategic alliances, for me, a really key decision is who are we going to listen to, and then who are we not going to listen to. So I actually picked a single author on how to market your own book, a single consultant, and a few trusted friends of many years who've been in publishing for years that I know their character. I know their experience. I know that when they say something, it's from actual experience and not just something they heard. And I sort of handpicked this very lean brain trust that I decided I was going to rely on. And Blake, I just told myself, everything else I'm going to just put my hands over my ears, because you can only listen to so many pieces of input. And I think that's it, the brain trust. Your judgment and the brain trust.
Mentorship is such an important part of business today, yet many people are struggling to find someone who will listen long enough to really help them to grow and develop. Are there life lessons from being mentored in your life that might help other people looking for mentors to really know where to look, to find someone who will really give them the time and soul care that is needed to produce a really great work like you've done in many books that you've already put out already?
Boy, that's a great question. It's interesting you ask about mentoring, too, because, you mentioned the Go-Giver. There are actually two Go-Giver parables. There's a second one called the Go-Giver Leader. And my friend Bob Burg and I are coming out with a third next year, actually, the Go-Giver Influencer, another parable. And the recipe, the book we're talking about now, is a parable. And all of these books are basically a seeker and a mentor. So they're really all kind of by their definition, they're stories about mentoring. The recipe is the story of this 14-year-old boy, but if you kind of turn it around and look at it from behind, it's really kind of a guidebook to mentoring, to being a great mentor. So your question's a really good one. How do you find a great mentor? I think the first thing is that they're there. The mentors are out there, and mentors are often surprisingly accessible. But I think it's helpful to approach it with the understanding that it's a two-way street. It's a relationship. It's not just a take. It's also a give. And what I mean by that is you're not just going to a mentor to say, hey, will you help me? Hey, will you give me your experience and your advice? You're also giving something to the mentor. The mentor is going to do that with you in part because it's a two-way relationship. So what do they get from you? Well, they get your passion. They get your enthusiasm. It's like the way a grandparent gets juice from being with an infant, right? Even though that age difference may not be there with the mentor relationship. I think that the key thing in approaching a potential mentor is if you come from a place of your genuine passion for what you're doing, your authenticity, that it's not so much about, hey, I need you to give me your time, or hey, I need you to give me your advice, as much as it is, hey, I'm doing this thing that I'm completely devoted to, I'm committed to, I'm plugged into. Maybe there's a place here for your experience to come into play, but I just really wanted to connect with you and let you know how much I appreciate you and your experience, and that I want to grow up and be like you, that kind of thing. When you come from that genuine place of authenticity and passion, I think that you are become more attractive to potential mentors. And as I say, they're there. I've been amazed at how freely and openly, not everyone, but so many people who are in positions of great accomplishment and achievement will actually open up their email or their Twitter or their account to chat with you.
Well, that is mainly something that I have been working on in several projects, so it's fascinating to me, your perspective on how people help. Some statistics I have come through going through my projects have produced information that would make many mentors like yourself cringe, that it's not always quite as easy as it is for others to get someone to respond to a help request. But I'm really glad that you're letting mentors know what they should be thinking about when they go into those sorts of relationships. Now, many small business owners...
If I may, just one more piece on that. The other thing about mentoring is that you have to be prepared to accept help on a mentor's terms. I mean, for example, here's a simple example. Some people happily will talk on the phone, but aren't that great with email. Some people, I'm the opposite. You can't get me on the phone. I mean, you and I are talking on the phone right now, but normally I just don't do the phone. I do email. Some people do Twitter. Some people do Facebook. Some people like to schedule time. Some people can't stand scheduled time. Everyone kind of has their own terms that they're comfortable working with. So in seeking a relationship with a mentor, you also need to be prepared, I think, to go more than halfway to meeting them on their terms, whatever those terms may be.
Sure. Now, many small business owners are trying to reach people in their souls to get more revenue flowing. Can you give us some examples of specific strategies you've used that our listeners could apply broadly in other arenas of business?
Well, again, I go back to this experience that I had with the recipe, and exactly how you apply this is going to vary from field to field. But one thing I learned quickly was that it pays to give away content for free within certain circumscribed situations. And so here's what I did, for example, with the recipe. It hasn't even, as you and I are speaking, it's still more than a month away from publication. So months ago, I set up a little readers group. I contacted my mailing list and said, hey, who would like to be an early reader of the book? I will give you the book for free. I will give you an advance copy for free if you'll agree to leave a reader review on Amazon when it comes out.
So mainly you got help from others to market yourself.
Blake, I can't tell you, this readers group exploded. I expected a dozen or two. I ended up with 175 people, almost 200 people. All of them read the book. All of them got it for free, right? But they created so much buzz around the book. They told their friends. They told their parents, their brothers, their siblings, their kids, their colleagues. Just from giving away content for free, again, within a certain circumscribed pathway, I generated more marketplace buzz than I could have purchased with any amount of money. And I think that's something that you can apply in any entrepreneurial field, is make a connection with your potential customers and share the value of your business with them, even if it means you give stuff away for free.
What other ways can people market themselves?
My Go-Giver co-author, Bob Burg, is a social media animal. He's amazing. He just creates so many relationships through social media. I admire him, and it's just not me. It's not. And so when I set about to try to create relationships with my readership, with my marketplace via social media, I kind of had to get over the fact that I don't want to spend 3 hours a day on my computer bouncing around tweets and Facebook posts. Here's what I found. People respond to authenticity. People respond to personality. They respond to character. What I found is the more genuine you are, the more you share yourself, and I don't mean that you tell your whole life story in long tweets and long posts and long blogs, but I mean what people respond to, even on social media, is authenticity, is the real you. You can, and I think that you can reach a much more vibrant and much more valuable and engaged audience through sharing yourself. Your vulnerability and your true experience and character, even in less time, in less volume of words, than pouring tons of polished marketing effort out onto the wires. The more avenues there are to communicate, the more people cherish the reality of a person's human nature.
Now, people really love some of the work that you've done. How many books have you actually written to this point?
I generally say that I published about 24 books, and that's true. I participated in a handful of others. The first book that I wrote that really made a splash in the marketplace that people know about is The Go-Giver, and that came out a decade ago. It just 2 weeks ago, won another award, which blew my mind. After a decade, it won the 2017 Living Now Book Award Evergreen Medal. It's a new medal that they instituted a few years ago for its contributions to global change, which I'm really, really excited about. But that got my career rolling. And since that book came out, it's been about 24 books and they've been all over the map. Parables, memoirs, business books, nonfiction, military books with my sniper friend. It's been a wild and woolly ride.
Many people are aware of the fact that I just had an interview with Bob Burg on The Go-Giver. What is the future of your work together?
I said the thing before about business partners, I think a co-author is really a business partner. It's particularly true if the book is going to last. A lot of books, they hit the marketplace, they make a little splash, they get a readership, and then they kind of trail away. And that's that's the majority of books. But some books just stay in print year after year. And for us, the Go-Giver is that. It isn't. It actually has more sales this year than it did last year, and more last year than the year before. It's actually increasing a decade later. So it's an ongoing enterprise, which means that Bob and I have a relationship that is a central part of our lives and has been for a decade. He was such a wonderful man. He's one of those guys that, you always wonder, what are they really like in private, like behind closed doors? I'll tell you what he's like. He's exactly what you think. He's exactly like he is in public. He's just one of the sweetest, most generous spirits I know. And we've invested a lot in the Go-Giver universe. As I said, there's two Go-Giver parables out. There's the Go-Giver itself, and there's the Go-Giver leader. There is a handbook called Go-Giver Sell More, which is not a parable, but it's sort of like a collection of mini essays about the principles of the Go-Giver. We're coming out next spring with another Go-Giver parable. This one's called the Go-Giver Influencer, and it's about a young man who runs a natural dog and cat food company. So there's a big dog called Solomon in that book, and there's also a cat whose name I won't give away, which we had a blast doing because Bob is a total animal lover, and so am I. And then I suspect that there will be further Go-Giver titles beyond that. We're not exactly doing the chicken soup for the soul thing where there's like a zillion, and we don't plan to do a zillion. But I think that there are at least another one or two or three more Go-Giver books in us before this day is done.
Well, that's really great. My experience with Bob Burg was probably amongst the finest I've ever had with any professional at any time in my long career of marketing.
Yes.
And he made me feel important in every exchange. He was respectful and courteous and extended grace in moments that maybe needed a little, and I really valued that time. So it's really great and wonderful to hear how much you have both meant to one another in the journey of writing for business people, in kind of mentoring like methods and stories that move people into thinking more about others. That's truly the legacy of the work that you and Bob have created, is the legacy of mentoring other people. Not only that, the legacy of helping people to see the value of giving unto others selflessly. And that's something that is so incredibly important in today's world, especially with recent events in Texas and in Florida, but more importantly in the daily lives of the men and women around our lives. And it's really something that you have given to the world, because your books have been published in many languages and have had much success. So I'm really excited to hear about this new book, The Recipe. Is there any other kind of tidbits or hints that you want to share with the listeners about what they can expect in terms of the read, or just in terms of more writing work from you in the coming years?
Well, in terms of the book itself, The Recipe, it's funny you mentioned the recent storms. My co-author lives in Houston, and I went down to Houston this last summer just a few months ago to shoot some video with him. We spent 2 days with a professional video crew shooting footage of the two of us talking about the book and the recipes in the book, and him cooking and me eating, and me doing the sort of Charlie Rose style sit-down interview with him about the background of the book. And we had a blast to create this sort of bonus content videos for people who pre-ordered the book. And so we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. And I came back home, and then Harvey went roaring through Houston and turned his life upside down. And once Harvey was done, I was staying in Central Florida, and Irma came running through and turned my life upside down. So we both really, we feel like that was part of the publishing process, facing down various hurricanes. I think in terms of the book itself, I'm hoping that people will experience some of the depth of the experience. The book, especially toward the end, there are surprises. There are some twists and turns, and people turn out to be, more or different than you expected. And if the book is beautifully received, if it makes the kind of impact in the marketplace that we hope it does, well, maybe there'll be another story in that universe too, as well as more Go-Giver books.
Well, I can't thank you enough for the time you've given me today to talk a little bit about your new exciting book, The Recipe, and to share some kind of historic information about your world phenomenon book, The Go-Giver. And I'm really just excited that we've had this moment to talk. Thank you so much for having a moment in time to talk with us here today.
Blake, I so appreciate it. Thank you for having me. You're a great interviewer. I love what you're doing, and it's been a blast chatting with you.
Thanks so much, John. To learn more about John David Mann, please visit his website, johndavidmann.com. To get your advance copy of John's new book, The Recipe, visit theingredientsofgreatness.com to receive a signed copy and 3 gifts from him and his co-author. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I'm Blake Ensign, and this has been Marketing Minutes. Keep your ears open for my next audiocast.